Well, Secret Lair X Stranger Things is out, and I think it's time to have a discussion. Every time one of these new Secret Lairs come out with an IP crossover that doesn't completely align with how MTG works, then people are going to get a little upset about it. And today we're going to talk about those IP crossovers and what we think about them in the MTG space.
Grab your pitchforks, grab your torches, call us shills in the comments. The video starts right now.
Highest level of gratitude to our patrons who power the channel through Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn about monthly giveaways, VIP Discord access, and even our official playmat. Hello and welcome to The Day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. Jake's Secret Lair, Stranger Things. I think we've had a little less of an impact on this one, you know. Secret Lair Walking Dead was a system shock. Jumping into the cold water all of a sudden. We're a little used to the temperature at this point. So we want to talk through some of the history that's gotten us to these IP crossovers and what we think are the pros and cons of these. If you like the video, by the end of it though, hit that like button. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button. That's how that works.
That's a great way to help us out, and if you want to get involved on a deeper level, head on over to Patreon. We're going to talk about Secret Lair X, Stranger Things. Again, we know that this video is going to be a little bit controversial, but why don't we go ahead and just talk about the first time that we saw stuff, which was with My Little Pony and Transformers, these silver border cards. Let's go ahead and talk about those a little bit.
Let's take a look at this. All right, Jake. Rarity, Nightmare Moon, Princess Twilight Sparkle. These My Little Ponies did not cause a huge stir. This was from Ponies the Galloping. This was Magic Extra Life 2019. And we got Twilight Sparkle. We got a lot of the gang here. But because they were silver border, not a lot of people had problems with them.
Yeah, now these might show up in a Commander deck anyway. Commander, again, is a very, casual format. That's one thing that you should know about us. You should know about Jake and Joel if this is the first video you've seen. We typically cover MTG finance stuff and we cover Commander content. Commander, in a lot of ways, is the lifeblood of MTG. It gives life and value and playability to many, many cards that otherwise would go forgotten in formats like Standard, Modern, Legacy, and so on. And so that is why we like Commander. That is why so many players do engage with Commander. And again, if one of these ponies showed up in there, a lot of players aren't really going to worry about it. But as we've gotten to kind of where we are, and again, this happened with Transformers, we had Silver Border Transformers as well. But as we've gotten to kind of where we are, with Secret Lair Walking Dead, for example, this was something that was very incredibly not well received, but this was pretty much their highest selling Secret Lair.
Yeah, it was their first foray into these true black border Secret Lair multi-IP crossovers. We were told that these will be reprinted at a certain point. Who knows if that was really ever the full plan or if that was just added. Now, as they've announced Secret Lair Stranger Things, they've announced from the beginning that these will actually be reprinted within the year into the actual game as non-IP versions. We'll see what those look like, if they are actually card for card, Godzilla style. When we talk about Godzilla style, we talk about this alternate name down under the name box at the top.
And what's interesting about this, I have to interrupt Joel here, is this came out on April 17th, 2020. That's when Ikoria came to us. And this preceded Secret Lair Walking Dead, which was different. So Secret Lair Walking Dead does not say Zalortha under Godzilla. For example, there aren't two different versions of this card. Negan is Negan, Rick is Rick, Daryl is Daryl, Glenn is Glenn, and Michonne is Michonne. And there is a bat that comes in there as well that is Lucille, and Lucille is simply Lucille. And that is where a lot of the upset came from for this product. And this is not going to be the way that this is in Secret Lair Stranger Things. I think this was a proper move. This means that Wizards of the Coast heard what people were saying, and who knows if they're going to go back to that again. But
right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure if we're going to get a version of this that's Dinker Gadget Genius, and it'll underneath in the Zalortha style say Dustin Gadget Genius instead of Dinker. am very interested to see how these actually show up in the future as their legitimate card versions, as non-IP crossover versions. But really, I think Jake and mine, we discussed this at length, and our big takeaway here is that we would not get to play these as a TCG otherwise. If you want to play Stranger Things, the card game, now you can, basically, through Commander with this Secret Lair of cards. But that wouldn't be the case if, you know, they wanted to try and develop their own TCG, for instance.
Sure. And a good way that we can kind of illustrate this is we engaged with 2 games years ago, 2 of them, and the 2 that we're going to reference in this video are Star Wars Destiny. This is $1 billion IP Star Wars. Everybody knows what Star Wars is. And the other one that we engaged with was Keyforge. But let's talk about Star Wars first. And we have a couple graphs for you here. Oh my God, we're bringing data into the video. But we're going to kind of talk about when we first got into this game, Joel, we had cards that came out of the gate that were like $120. And every time a new Star Wars Destiny set came out, what we realized was it was a race to the bottom. And all the money to be made on those games was actually in pre-sales. But then there wasn't any tournament support. There wasn't much of a turnout. And ultimately people went back to other games, or was it the dice? Was that the reason that Star Wars Destiny didn't work out? There's multiple factors, but ultimately it is a dead game. We went to YouTube and the last video that came out was 6 days ago and it's only got like 150 views. So like, you can do this research yourself. You can go on YouTube, you can check out these analytics. But Joel, what does this tell us? I mean,
it shows that even an IP that's $1 billion valuation does not necessarily mean that it's going to be able to support a TCG. Magic has withstood the test of time. Why wouldn't we want our game absorbing these IPs in some way? It doesn't break the sanctity of this game. I mean, we've had unsets forever. We've had altars forever. We've had proxies forever. I don't know why there is so much outrage, other than the fact that it is a timed drop. We've gotten a little better at that. You know, if we look back to Walking Dead, this was like miss it and it's gone super style, if I remember correctly. This was one of those,
like maybe like a week it was available or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure.
We would have to go back and check and see what the window was. It's hard to keep track after all this time.
You know, with this one, it was the first one, which is always going to cause more outrage, and the window was shorter. With this Secret Lair Stranger Things one, this is a full month. As of shooting this video, there are 26 days and 13 hours left to go and buy this thing. So that is sort of closed off. I mean, selling them at costs, the cards, I mean, it costs things. They're there to make money, so they've got to charge for these. And so, you know, I'd rather these be, oh, you can just go buy them straight up, rather than being a booster set where I've got to either buy a bunch of boosters and pull them, or I'm going to go buy the singles anyway. So it just ends up being a more convenient way to push these. So Jake, the answer to your question, what does it teach us, is that a huge, massive IP was unable to support that game. You sort of touched on it. The game wasn't perfect. It had dice as part of it. There were some very broken cards out of the gate with no real way to like ban or, you know, modify the cards in any way. And there wasn't a tournament scene that was enormous. I know that some people do still play this game. But even with Keyforge was invented by the inventor of MTG. And again, lots of little pieces.
Look at that hype. Look at the way that that hype is driven. Huge. It's massive. And then you find the sell-off and it honestly looks like a stock graph. It's like we have a new IPO available. People buy into it and then they get into it. They see this isn't really what I'm looking for. Then we have a massive sell-off. We have a spike that looks like it's going to come back. But ultimately, Keyforge ends up being a dead game. This is another game that you and I bought multiple decks because it had this allure of being like, well,
every deck is done.
Every deck is different. Every deck is unique. But then what happened was that meta became find a 4 horseman deck. Make sure that you have, you know, the best possible deck. Yeah, and I'm sure that it changed a little bit over time.
Tons of little pieces too. It wasn't just the cards and sleeves that you need.
True.
You know, all of these 2 examples are going to have a lot of like pushback based on a ton of different factors that they both had. But I would then, Jake, point to the Lord of the Rings trading card game. I played the crap out of this when it came out in 2001. I played it for a nice long time, but even this is a dead card game now.
Out of print, baby.
Out of print. And
since 2007.
Plus, now we're going to have the Lord of the Rings IP absorbed blob style into MTG. And so we've got this monster of MTG slowly moving along, slowly absorbing these IPs. People seem angry about it. Jake and I are just like, why?
Let's talk about that a little bit, because this is kind of the theme of the video, which is absorption versus infiltration. I see this word used all the time on our videos, on Reddit. People are saying Magic the Gathering is being infiltrated by other IPs, and I think we need to look at it more as Magic the Gathering is absorbing other IPs and giving those IPs a chance to live. Because the thing is like, we are going to see Lord of the Rings come out in allegedly a set that is a draftable booster pack set. That's going to cause some pushback as well. We might see sci-fi in the future. We've already hinted at that with like Kamigawa and stuff. So
well, we know that 40k is going to be in Commander decks, and you can't have 40k without guns and machine, tanks and all this kind of stuff.
So the people that like 40k, should they just not have a card game, or is it realistic to believe that in an infinite amount of infinite universe, infinite amount of planes, that possibly there's a plane that's a 40k plane? I mean, the thing is like, I get that there are people that are purists that are really like, no, the game needs to be this fantasy art. I mean, there is vintage, right? Like, there are these different formats, old school, where you get to go and play with the old cards and really live in that nostalgia. And you really have to search deep within yourself. How much does this really bother you? Is it really worth, I don't know, boycotting the game? And I don't think so. That's just what my gut says, and you might not agree with that, and that's okay.
Here's the bottom line. In our opinion, this is a very good thing. This expands the reach of the game. The biggest IPs, the biggest games are on cereal boxes, and you'll have Tony the Tiger, dressed up like a Fortnite character, or you'll have, Master Chief and as a big corner ad on the corner of your Raisin Bran box. It's the cross branding and the cross promotion of these different intellectual properties is a good thing to grow the game. What do we always want? Oh, more features on Arena. We wish MTGO was built out. At the end of the day, they are a company. Wizards is a company, and they exist to make money. If they make more money, hopefully they will be as responsible as a company can be, and they will provide us with these things, with these more, hopefully a high tide raises all ships.
Yeah, Joel always has a really good way of being succinct, bringing it all together. I do think that Magic the Gathering, absorbing Stranger Things, absorbing, Walking Dead, is giving life to, card games that otherwise wouldn't exist. You could build a Stranger Things deck with all these cards, 4 copies of them, if you go out and buy those cards. It's just, it is what it is.
I, for one, would love to see an Avengers Commander set printed, Commander decks, or like a Secret Lair where it's just a bunch of legendaries of the Avengers. I would buy that so fast, it would be ridiculous. What IP do you want to see? Let us know down in the comments below. Yeah, Jake, I know, wants to see an alien one. What do you want to see? Let us know down in the comments below. And honestly, while you're down there, if you're like, this is all stupid, I hate other IPs, I play Magic, or I go to the theater to watch Star Wars, or I sit at home on my TV and I watch Squid Game. I don't want Squid Game, Commander. I don't want Star Wars, Commander. I want MTG. If you think that, that's great.
That's fine too.
I understand it. Let me know down in the comments below. Other than that, that's our opinion on all this. It's on the internet now. We can't take it back. It's going to be held against us forever.
Sometimes you just got to go with your gut and let people know how you feel. And if they hate it, they hate it, man.
This is how we feel. MTG good. Other stuff in MTG also good.